Hello, today we're going to talk about why training to failure is not a deal breaker for an aesthetic physique. So let's get into it. We got a graph over here. This graph I call the graph of gains. It is the graph that considers what your intensity is compared to how much gains you will get. So around 0%. This is 0% to around 20%. We got a few miles over here that you can just imagine this to be 0 to 100% intensity. And 100% intensity, which will be failure. Okay? That means you can't do a single rep anymore. Just in context here, that you're gonna do one set with no drop set, no kind of dropping weights and pumping out more reps, training beyond failure. This graph will only consider for one set with no change in weight. Okay? I didn't know I spelled that right or not, but this is the graph for one set with no change in grade. So, how would this go? So, from 0% intensity, this means you're not training. You're sitting at home eating a bag of Cheetos. Maybe you're being a fucking lazy fuck. So, around 20%. This means that imagine you're having a set of 10, maybe, yeah? A set of 10 reps. And 10 reps. You do 10 reps and you can't do anymore. Can't continue. So if you can't continue, then 20% of that 10 set reps that you can't continue will be brought 2 out of 10 reps of that. So you will have done 2 reps if on this weight. Let's just say you did X amount of weight. Let me do here X amount of weight, X kilograms for 10 reps. Reach failure. Okay? So 20% means you do X kilograms for 2 reps. Equals 20%. Understood? Good. Very smart. So, just imagine that. 20%. From here we got no gain, right? From here to 20%, your muscle will still feel fresh and stuff. It will still make some simulation, but as you can see, it's not much. And to around 20% to around, let's just say 40% here, 40%. It's still in a relatively not too steep of a hill, okay? It still makes you gains, but not by much. But you see this part right here, this part, the parts from 50% up. This is when like you're actually feeling it. Oh damn, this rep feels a bit challenging. Especially, I drew this graph a bit wrong here. It will not go like this. It will still keep on being stiff until it skyrockets up like this. That is more accurate. So around 60%, 60%, 70%. It will still make like this kind of a small but long gains over here. So more intensity over here will make this much gains. But as soon as you jump in, like to around 80%, this is when the reps feels a little bit difficult. So from 0% to around 50, 60, 70%, let's just say, okay? You do, let me take an example of an exercise here. Let's just say you do push-ups. So you do push-ups, you can do with an X amount of weights on your back for 10 reps. So rep 1, you feel, okay, nice. 1 second up, 2 second down. Rep 2, still 1 second up, 2 second down. Rep 3, still 1 second up, 2 down, down, down. Until rep 6, it's still 1 second up, 2 second down. But with this gain, this part right here will happen. You will feel it because it will feel like this. It will not be like 1 second up you can push easily. You will feel a bit struggling when you push it up. Well, it will take like 1.2 seconds or 1.3 seconds, something like that. That is when the magic happens. That is when you're struggling and your muscle actually start to hypertrophize. Alright? It's when your muscle feels like, oh, there's a challenge. And we're kind of struggling here. So we have to push a little bit above our limits. And then we continue on this path for 80%. One more rep. This is like 1 second or maybe even 2 seconds up. You're really close. That is around 90%. Let's just say rep 10. This is the last rep you can do. So you did rep 10. Oh, so hard. Finally, you got up here. You reach failure. So what does failure reaching means? Failure means that it doesn't mean that you're a failure and your mom hates you or something like that, and your mom doesn't trust you, whatever. Training failure is that, okay, the previous set reps, you just did it, right? Now you attempt to do another rep, but you can't push it up anymore. That is when you reach failure. It's that you fail to perform another reps, okay? So the rep previous to the rep you perform and failed it will be your failure zone. Of course, that decentric, like that 10 rep, and you did 10.5 reps, that will still simulate more muscle growth. But you see all those people online who's like, oh yes, you gotta train to failure for gains, bro. Gotta get maximized gain. You see, failure is up here at the top. But will we just go up like that? No. You see, our body has its own limits too. So the graph wouldn't actually look like this, okay? This is not what's gonna happen. But the more and more fatigued you make your body to be, it will actually, just like how you would injure your body too much. It's like how you run too much. Maybe you run for about 10, 15 minutes, you're good with running. You feel your body a bit heated, warmed up, you can run a bit faster, but at some point you will feel tired and have to stop, right? Your muscle gains will look like this. So you go to failure, and then you go beyond failure, +1, +2, drop the weight, drop, etc. It will look like this. Alright? It will look like this. It will stiffen a bit and even go down. It will even go down, okay? Sorry for over here, I should really buy a towel or something. So it will actually goes down because you're doing too much volume and not actually getting any result with it. Just because you're tiring your muscle doesn't mean that it will get gains. You will still have to train strategically. But the point here in this video today is to not talk about how bad that training to failure to future would actually do. That will be a future video where I will start from going to failure, and at which point it would go down in quality. Okay? We will talk about this gap right here on this video. So why did I say that training to failure is not a deal breaker for an aesthetic physique? You can still get an aesthetic as fuck physique without getting to this point, because the magical gains right here. You see how this graph skyrockets up, okay? It's at the point where I say you train about 80 to 90%. So you can train 1 rep shy, so RIR1, rep in reserve. RIR means rep in reserve. So around rep in reserve 1 still got like a pretty high gains compared to 0. Let's just say that it's like this much difference compared to this much difference. So if you skip 1 rep here, you will not lose all your gains. And same goes for like RIR 2 to 3 to failure. It will be like this much compared to that this much. So you can still not train to failure and still make gains. So for some reason, like, oh no, I can't really hit failure today. I feel like shit today. I did like 1 to 2 few reps shot, but you know that you're still squeezing those reps hard, and like those reps still feels a bit slower for you. Maybe someday you don't feel the strongest. You will still get gains. Do not worry about that, because as soon as 1 rep of yours doesn't feel easy anymore, so this is the easy zone and the hard zone. Easy to hard. Okay? Easy versus hard. As soon as 1 rep of yours starts to feel slower on the explosive part, that is when this barrier actually starts to happen. But let's come to the last part of the video. We have covered that if you train to the RIR 2 to 3, to RIR 1, okay? You don't have to push fully to failure, but you could still make massive gains, because look at this graph. Look at this much compared to like how much you're missing. But before we go into the last part, if you want more of the advanced education, more than this, and all my knowledge packed into one place, top link in the description down below is my paid program and paid community. You can check it out. All the information will be at top in the description down below if you want to support me out. So let's go into the last part of the video. But that brings us to the question. Oh, okay, I'm training shy to failure. Training shy to failure will still makes me gains. But thing is, people says that life's so hard. You know how it feels when your dad dies, right? You have never lost your dad before. People always says that when they actually lose their dad, and people say, "Oh, it's fine. I understand you. It's all good." It's actually factual. You haven't lost your dad before. Your dad hasn't died, so you can't really say that. Oh, I understand failure before. Oh man, I understand failure, but you haven't never reached failure before in your life. So, if you don't train to failure, how would you know what the feeling of these RIR 2 to 3 to RIR 1 feels like? How would you know that 1 rep shy to failure or 2 to 3 rep shy to failure even feels like? So, if you don't train to failure, you will not know. You will not know how failure feels like. So if you don't know how failure feels like, you won't have the thing to equalize, to make it as a measurement for rep in reserve 2 to 3 or rep in reserve 1. People don't push to failure and they say, oh man, I'm training like RIR 2 to 3, RIR 1. Why am I not making any gains? Because you have never pushed to failure actually. You don't even train that hard. Maybe RIR 2 to 3 of you and RIR 1 to you, maybe it's just around this part. Maybe it's around 40% or 50%. Just make sure that you actually get to failure first. To know that how a few reps shy from failure feels like. So what I want you to do is, if you don't train to failure, you will not know. You 100% don't know what failure feels like. So therefore, you don't know RIR 3 to 1 feels like. Okay? You don't know how RIR 3 to 1 feels like. So what I want you to do is, at least, you can train hard. You don't need to train to failure if you don't want to like hurt your muscle too much or if you have problem with recovery. But your last set must reach failure. Okay? That could look like a chest day with a inclined push-up. Okay, let's just do push-up for easy. Push-ups. That could look like, okay, set 1 for 8 reps of extra 50 kilograms. 8 reps of 50 kilograms. Okay? Second set could be 6 reps of 50 kilograms. But third set, okay, has to be I don't know how much reps you're gonna do, but for a bit of lighter weight, maybe 45 kilograms. But to failure, you have to push until like it's 100% of your effort. So if you wanna know how to not train to failure, it's not a deal breaker. Training to failure is not a deal breaker, but you would have to know how failure feels like to have this not a deal breaker. And of course, if you want more knowledge on how to make yourself into the most aesthetic version of yourself, get more knowledge on how to aesthetic max your physique, top link description down below will have all my knowledge packed into one place with like-minded community and me literally guiding you to get to your goals. So if you're interested and want to support me out, top link in the description down below. That's it for today's video. And I hope you learned something new from this video. I'll see you guys on the next video. Goodbye.